Thank you. Saying thank you to one another, such a simple act of kindness, of noticing another person, that connection reminding us that we're not in this world alone. There's so many different ways that we can say thank you to one another, and one of my favorite ways is writing thank you cards. I love the beautiful stationery that I can get at Romans. I love all of the array of lovely stamps. Terry's laughing because she gave me a set of thank you cards that might be a little hard to send to people in the congregation, and you can ask her about that after worship. They're reserved for her thank yous. The pens that match the stationery. I mean, you can have a whole little, like Pinterest setup there if you want to. But I love holding in my mind just that act of generosity that someone offered me or offered our community at Troop, for which I offer gratitude. And when I was in seminary, a friend and I were just talking about the power of a simple thank you card. And he mentioned that his girlfriend also loved writing thank you cards, and she loved it so much that if she received a thank you card, she would then send one in return, a thank you for the thank you. And we were like, wow, when then does that cycle and circle of generosity of thank you cards ever end? It could go on and on and on, and maybe that wouldn't be such a bad thing if we were all doing that. And I understand that impulse to send the thank you back. Many of you just do a great job in the art of thank yous of many kinds, and I always want to offer my own, oh, thank you for thanking me. And we probably all know that gratitude is generally a good thing for us to develop. A search on TED.com, the site for the TED Talks, the 12 to 17 minute very inspirational talks on every subject you can imagine in the world. If you do a search on there for gratitude, there's pages and pages that come up of people reminding us of how important it is to nurture a sense of thankfulness. You can also go to gratefulness.org, and there you will also find any number of ways to help you instill daily gratitude in your life. And if you are a person that is just too busy to go to TED and gratitude sites and like that, you can listen to the advice of German theologian Meister Eckhart, who said, if the only prayer you ever say in your life is thank you, it will be enough. As I found myself going down the rabbit hole of websites and books and resources, I started realizing that if we have this wealth of information on how to nurture gratitude in our lives, then that must mean that some of us have a really hard time doing it, even though we know that it's a good thing for us to do. The past few weeks, we've been in this migration of painted lady butterflies, and it has been so magical, has it not? Yeah, there's an intersection near my house that's kind of up on top of a hill, a three-way stop, and that's like a major avenue for all the painted lady butterflies. And whenever I'm up there with my car, you can see whoever we are at the stoplight, we like pause, and we're like looking with wonder and smiling, and then we're like so slowly driving forward. I think we're either awed by the magic or a little bit worried that we're gonna hit them with our car, and we don't wanna do that. So this week, when seeing those butterflies, it's been really easy to say, oh, thank you for all that is this life, thank you. But I know it's a lot harder to summon up that sense of gratitude when it feels like you're barely hanging on. And last week I was talking to a friend of mine, and they're going through a really hard time right now. My friend is very unsure about money. They're not totally sure they have enough to just pay the regular bills in addition to student loans that will be coming due. They're in a crossroads with their career. They're not really sure if they're going to be able to find a satisfying full-time job, or heck, not even satisfying, just a full-time job somewhere. Almost everything in their life just feels like it's up in the air, and there's no end to that in sight. And so they said to me, I'm trying really hard right now to find a place of gratitude, and I just can't. I know I need to feel gratitude for every single job lead that comes my way. I know I need to feel gratitude for just every positive interaction I have. I know that this time in my life, when things are so uncertain, is exactly when I need to be able to say thank you more than ever. And I'm just not finding it, they said. And that resonated so much with me. I've been in that place recently too, and maybe some of you have found yourselves in that place in your life. This coming Thursday is the 1-year anniversary of my husband Jonathan's heart attack. We're actually noting it by getting on a plane and going to Prague, of all places. I'm teaching at the Unitarian Academy there, so I'll be connecting with our... And we'll hold a moment for whatever emergency is happening. So I'll be teaching at the Unitarian Academy there, and I'm really grateful for all of the leaders here who are stepping in while I'll be away for a couple of weeks. But anyway, we're going to get on a plane on the 1-year anniversary of Jonathan's heart attack, and his heart attack happened just 10 days before our 1-year wedding anniversary. So it would be terrible at any time, but it also just felt really, really tender at that 1-year wedding mark. And then, as if the heart attack wasn't enough for us to try to make sense of, just a week after his heart attack, Jonathan found himself entering 9 months of just incredible stress and strain and personal attacks in his professional life. So for 9 months last year, we were immersed in both just the real physical and spiritual healing of his heart, which needed to happen. But we were also trying to heal these spiritual and emotional wounds that were being inflicted on a daily basis in his place of work, this place that he felt called to, the place that was so much of his identity, and that was slowly being stripped away from him. Life became a series of days and weeks where not much was certain for us. It was a huge drain, and any of you who've been through a time like that, you know what I'm talking about. And it was easy for us to then start feeling pretty isolated. And at one point, I made a physical list of all the friends and family who had reached out in support of us, because we needed to visually be able to know that we weren't all alone. And seeing that list, it was so reassuring, and of course, so many of you were on that list as well. So I often say to people that for some reason, I've just been tuned to positive on the radio dial of life. I don't know why, I just am. And because of that, I always thought that thankfulness was something that came really easy for me. But in the midst of what Jonathan and I were going through last year, I found that that actually was not the case at all. Each morning, of course, I felt really grateful that Jonathan was alive and still with us. I felt grateful for you all and this place and the shared ministry that we enjoy. But it was so hard to move through every day with gladness. And I'll just be honest, it was hard on Sunday mornings to get up here and offer a sense of joy and inspiration for you, my people who I love so dearly. I was like, where is that going to come from? I felt like I was just barely getting through the days. I knew that I should have gratitude, right? We know it's a good thing, and I did not know where to draw it from. So now that I am on the other side of that time of life, being in a place that's temporary, I know, but a temporary place where I can breathe the syllables thank you in and out. My experience is that being in that time of pain and fear can strengthen our deep well of gratitude. Mary Jo Letty is a Catholic theologian and justice activist, and she wrote, "Gratitude does not dispel the mystery of suffering and evil in the world. It may even deepen it." The idea that suffering and evil may deepen gratitude is reflected in Jewish ritual and practice. With the full moon just a few days away, bringing the spring equinox, it's also bringing the Jewish festival of Purim. And Purim is this very joyful festival of just revelry and fun times in the synagogue. But for me, married to a pretty observant Reform rabbi, Purim has always meant something else. It means Passover is 28 days away, my friends. And if you know observant Jews, you know that Passover being 28 days away brings some stress and anxiety into our household, because we keep a kosher for Passover kitchen, and we are like, you got to eat all the stuff that's called chametz. And did you catch my ch there, which I'm working on? Thank you very much. And so we're in the very early stages of trying to get all the stuff out of the house that we're not supposed to eat during Passover. And so I've been thinking a lot about the actual Passover ritual and Seder, because I have to completely turn my kitchen upside down. Pause. Maybe offering gratitude for our emergency responder people who help those in need. But since I have to turn my kitchen around, my kitchen is like my joy, my love. It's where I spend probably 80% of my time at home. Yeah, I have some anxiety about flipping it. But I've been thinking a lot about then the Seder ritual and what's involved in that meal and that ritual that tells every year over and over the identity story of the Jewish people, of the Exodus. I call him Uncle Moses because I feel like my Jewish friends talk about Uncle Moses all the time. But the Seder ritual doesn't downplay the trials and tribulations that the Israelites endured as slaves in Egypt. It doesn't downplay all that they had to go through to escape their bondage. It doesn't downplay all the angst and mistakes, bad decisions that they felt wandering through the desert on the way to the promised land. Jewish tradition so beautifully blends sweet moments with the harsher realities of life. Even in the joyful wedding ceremony, there is a glass that is broken at the end. And the glass is broken to remind us that, yes, even during the good times, joy and sorrow are woven fine. So during that Seder ritual, there's a prayer of gratitude that happens partway through, Dainu. And maybe some of you have said it in a Seder ritual or sung the song, Dainu. It would have been enough. The Dainu prayer has 15 stanzas, 15 aspects, 15 gifts that it's reminding us of. The first 5 involve leaving the enslavement of our bodies. The second 5 describe the miracles that God performs to change nature. And the last 5 lift up our closeness with the divine. During the Seder, we chant all 15. I'm not going to do all 15 now. You're welcome. And I'm going to do it in English. You're welcome again. But if he had brought us out of Egypt, Dainu, it would have been enough. If he had split the sea for us, Dainu, it would have been enough. If he had let us through on dry land, Dainu, it would have been enough. If he had provided for our needs in the wilderness for 40 years, Dainu, it would have been enough. If he had given us Shabbat, Dainu, it would have been enough. Dainu offers a call to mindfulness about where we are in our present day lives. It's a reminder that even when our lives aren't going exactly as we had planned, when the job isn't materializing, when we're afraid, when we're alone, that there is something in our lives that can remind us, Dainu, it could have been enough. This is enough. But how do we tap into that something that's in our lives? When we feel like my friend did last week, when you know that you should indeed try to find gratitude and it just won't come for you, no matter how hard you try, how do we do it? Brene Brown, researcher and social scientist, discovered a way toward this elusive gratitude through research she did on joy. Brown wrote, "One of the most profound changes in my life happened when I got my head around the relationship between gratitude and joy. I always thought that grateful people were joyful people. I mean, come on, why wouldn't they be? They have all that goodness to be grateful for." But after spending countless hours collecting stories about gratitude and joy, 3 patterns emerged. 1, without exception, every person I interviewed who described living a joyful life actively practiced gratitude. And they attributed their joyfulness to these acts of gratitude. Number 2, both joy and gratitude were described as spiritual practices that were bound to a belief in human interconnectedness and a power greater than us. And 3, people were quick to point out joy as an emotion connected to a spiritual way of engaging with the world that is connected to this practice of gratitude. So if you were listening closely, I know it can be hard just listening, a common word in each of those 3 patterns is the word practice. Like all the other things in life that are ultimately really good for us, yet often hard to do on a daily basis, we can increase gratitude by beginning an intentional practice of noting when it shows up in our lives. And we're going to start with a simple gratitude practice here. So I invite you to take a moment and call to mind just one thing, no matter how large or small, that you carry a sense of gratitude for right now. It could be a person or a situation or a plant outside, a song, an idea. And once you have in your mind what that one thing is that you feel grateful for, I invite you to come forward and to write it on, we have pieces of paper, and to hang it from one of our gratitude branches. And if your body is telling you right now that it would be grateful to let you stay in a pew, never fear. Terry Trindler will cruise around the sanctuary with a basket of paper and pens, and she'd be happy to hang her gratitude on the tree for you.